An Elk River man is critically hurt in a shooting, and police say the man's story of how it happened just doesn't add up. Investigators say 3 men in a car called 911 from this gas station around 7:15 last night. They said they'd been in an argument with another driver who shot into the car and hit the 21-year-old passenger in the chest. Police say traffic cameras do not support the story and confirm no road rage took place. Investigators spoke to the other 2 men in the car and asked a judge for a warrant to search it. The name of the victim has not been released.
Today, the nation remembers the lives lost 5 years ago in Newtown, Connecticut. December 14th, 2012, a gunman killed 20 first graders and 6 educators at Sandy Hook Elementary School, then committed suicide as police arrived. The 20-year-old had also fatally shot his mother at their home before carrying out the attack on the school. Out of this senseless tragedy, many relatives of the victims have sought ways to find meaning in advocacy. There are organizations honoring the passions of the children. Others have jumped into policy to lobby for gun control or improve mental health. We will hear more about some of those projects ahead at 5:30 this morning.
An autopsy is scheduled for this morning on a Republican state lawmaker in Kentucky who had been accused of sexually assaulting a teenage girl in the basement of his home. Authorities say 57-year-old Dan Johnson stopped his car at the end of a bridge, walked to the front of his vehicle, and is believed to have shot himself. Johnson, the pastor of Heart of Fire Church in Louisville, once compared Barack and Michelle Obama to monkeys. In Alabama, Roy Moore still has not conceded to Democrat Doug Jones. Late yesterday, the Republican released a video message calling for all outstanding ballots to be counted. Alabama's Secretary of State says he'll certify the election results sometime between December 27th and January 3rd. Meanwhile, Senator John McCain is in the hospital, being treated for what his office says are normal side effects of his cancer therapy. Doctors diagnosed the Republican from Arizona with brain cancer this summer. He missed votes on the Senate floor this week. In a statement, he said he looks forward to returning to work as soon as possible.
FCC is expected to roll back rules on net neutrality at a meeting in Washington today. The rules keep internet service providers from prioritizing one web company or website over another. Critics say it could lead to slower speeds for some companies, higher costs for consumers. The chairman of the FCC told CBS News in the spring that the internet thrived before the Obama-era rules, and they stifle investment. House and Senate Republicans reached an agreement in principle on a final tax package last night. Cuts the top tax rate from 39.6% to 37%, slashes the corporate tax rate from 35% to 21%, and allows homeowners to deduct interest on the first $750,000 of a new mortgage, and that's it. Lawmakers could vote next week. The president wants Congress to send him that bill before Christmas. In her final news conference as chair of the Federal Reserve, Janet Yellen announced the key interest rate was going to rise by 0.25% to a range of 1.25% to 1.5%. Move signals confidence in a healthy economy less than a decade after the Great Recession. Governor Mark Dayton has appointed Tina Smith to succeed Al Franken in the U.S. Senate.
She'll join Senator Amy Klobuchar. It's the first time in state history Minnesota will have 2 female senators. Almost 100 years since women won the right to vote, there's still not a high percentage of women elected to public office. Here's Pat Kessler's reality check.
Women make up more than half of the population of the United States, but they're only a small percentage of the total number of elected officials. So try to guess the best states for electing women. And here is where it stands right now. Women are 50.8% of the U.S. population, but according to the Center for American Women in Politics at Rutgers, women make up only 24.9% of state governments, 19.6% of the seats in Congress, and 8.3% of the governor's offices. Political research shows women who run for political office are as likely to win as men, but women are less likely to run. And when they do run, women face obstacles men do not. Koya Knutson was the first woman elected to Congress from Minnesota in 1955. She lost re-election in 1959 after a sexist smear against her. Fellow Democrats conspired with her husband back home to write a public letter suggesting marital trouble, imploring her to come back to the happy home we once enjoyed.
Mr. Knudsen, has this been a rather difficult session for you? Yes.
59 years later, Minnesota still has only one female congresswoman, now 2 female senators, and 65 female lawmakers, 32.3% of the legislature. Minnesota ranks 9th in the country for electing women to office. Number 1 is Arizona, 40% there. The lowest number of elected women in the country is in Wyoming, 11.1%. That's Reality Check.
Tina Smith's appointment is good until a special election next November. She says she'll seek a 6-year term.